तो करना है, कुछ खुजली है, कुछ मचाना है, लेकिन क्या करना है वो समझ नहीं आता. Then I had a very, very existential crisis moment. So here's what I followed. Step one was just
Hi guys, what is up? Welcome back. Today I have invited my friend Ratin Shah, who is the CEO and founder of a fintech company called Spenny. Guys, आज का एपिसोड बहुत ही स्पेशल होने वाला है क्योंकि today we are not just going to talk about finding why, but also we are going to talk about finding why not. Confused? Excited? You will see. Let's go.
I have a question before we start.
Shoot.
Do you say this at every episode कि आज का एपिसोड बहुत ही स्पेशल होने वाला है?
No.
Or do you really mean it?
Ask my team. Should be obliged. Man, welcome to Finding Why.
Thank you so much.
Finally we are doing this.
Yes.
तो मैंने जनवरी में Finding Why लॉन्च किया था और सिर्फ शायद 2 या 3 वीडियोस गए थे when someone texted a very encouraging and sweet message on Instagram saying कि how you were confused about your life and मेरे टाइम पे as in उसके टाइम पे something called Finding Why होता तो it would have made his life 10x times easier. That was so sweet and encouraging. Thank you. And उसी की वजह से शायद आज हम यहाँ बैठे हैं.
100%. I agree because like even during my journey of like when I was trying to figure out कि मेरे को exactly क्या करना है, क्या बनना है, etc. So it was a lot of confusion as it is with most people. And you have this haunting question of ये सब तो ठीक है लेकिन आगे क्या करना है, या ये सब तो ठीक है लेकिन लाइफ में मेन क्या करना है. And there was always a question at the back of my head ever since college का graduation. And so at that point, and we'll go into that when we get in the story, but it was like when I saw your channel, I was like, this is exactly what, if I had this earlier, would have made my life much easier because I explored those things which you are saying now in this video. I explored those things by doing those things. So yeah, very excited for this.
So you did your engineering from BITS.
Pilani, yeah, Goa, exactly.
कौन सा stream था?
Electronics. Wow, I barely remember that. Is how useless that was. But yes.
For electrical.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me that engineering wala scene. Yes. So yes, electronics from BITS Goa.
तो कैसी जर्नी रही BITS में?
Yeah, BITS was also an exploration phase, but of a different kind. See, I come from Vapi, which is like a smaller town, like small town. So when I stepped into BITS Goa, it was a whole new world for me because I was interacting with people from Mumbai and Delhi and Bangalore and people from cities and just a mixed crowd across India and for the first time. And that was really eye-opening. College के day one से वो तो clear था कि पढ़ाई तो करनी नहीं है क्योंकि पढ़ाई आती नहीं है. तो so the simple point was कि ठीक है और क्या कर सकते हैं. And so for me, I got attracted to this club called CEL, which is Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership. It's essentially an entrepreneurship club. And फर्स्ट ईयर से ही उसमें मतलब काफ़ी अट्रैक्टेड था कि वो चीज़ में यहाँ जाना है, वो चीज़ में करना है कुछ. तो एंड सो फ्रॉम देन ऑन इट वाज अ जर्नी ऑफ लाइक फर्स्ट ईयर में वी ट्राइड वन स्टार्टअप, पोस्ट दैट ऑल्सो ट्राइड समथिंग एल्स. एवरी ईयर वाज जस्ट ट्राइंग टू create a startup and then see how that goes, and that experience was something that stayed with me forever. So yeah.
कि काफी लोगों को लगता है कि बिट्स होने के बाद या IIT होने के बाद entrepreneurship is a natural progression, but it was not very true for you. He actually took a step back to explore. मैंने तेरे बहुत सारे पॉडकास्ट देखे हैं, इंटरव्यूज देखे हैं where you talk about your Spenny journey, entrepreneurial journey, how you are a millionaire in his 20s and all of that. आज हम उस पर फोकस नहीं करेंगे because I am interested to know the exploration phase, how you came from being a confused person when you were in BITS to being a millionaire.
Right. So story starts slightly in college because that's how the foundation is built. Basically, while I was trying to my hand at startups and entrepreneurship, what happened eventually was I realized कि यार ये none of the startups were really at a stage where I could just do it full time college के बाद. So college के 4th year में I had this very difficult call to take, which was that कि यार फिर ठीक है जॉब करनी है अभी या फिर startup continue करना है. And at that time decided कि ठीक है जॉब करते हैं. And so I got into JP Morgan as an investment banking analyst. Worked there for some time. लेकिन हमेशा back of the mind था कि यार देख end office job 9 to 5 तो forever तो नहीं करना है, कुछ और करना ही करना है. This was clear. क्या करना है वो क्लियर नहीं था. So just like every other ambitious yet confused 22-year-old 24-year-old कि यार कुछ तो करना है, कुछ खुजली है, कुछ मचाना है, लेकिन क्या करना है वो समझ नहीं आता. तो always like that, and so this reached a crescendo so much that कि यार at one point it was like कि यार नहीं, अब मैं नहीं कर सकता, अब मेरे को कुछ करना ही पड़ेगा. And because college में startups was always the first thing, I just thought in general कि हाँ ठीक है, बस तो अब startup ही करना होगा. And while that is at that point it seemed like हाँ startup ही करना होगा. So I quit my JP Morgan job and I started running RecoPro, which was my first startup. Ran that for almost 2 years. लेकिन उसमें बहुत problems थी, उसमें बहुत सारे hurdles थे and wasn't a smooth journey at all. And so उसमें ना the way I had imagined कि यार startup में कैसा होगा, यार ये होगा वो होगा, excitement होगी, एकदम fancy, ये वो हमारी office होगी, bean bags होगी office में, और growth होगा और funding होगी और ये वो newspaper में आएगा नाम. This was not at all the case. Like it was like flash news. Like all of these was not there. बहुत ही अलग type की journey थी. After 2 years of that, now at this age, I must be around 25ish. And then I had a very very existential crisis moment कि यार ये सब ठीक है, लेकिन यार I really just want to do something which makes me happy and at the same time helps me reach my goals, which is that मेरे को कुछ मचाना है, मेरे को मेरे को Forbes 30 under 30 में आना है, मेरे को ऐसी सब चीजें करनी है, like, and I'm not really enjoying this, so I should probably take a step back and understand what I really want to do. And that's where this phase starts.
That's where the exploration part 2 of the story begins.
Yeah.
तो अपने ऑडियंस को बताइए कि what was your process like, क्योंकि honestly बहुत रिफ्रेशिंग प्रोसेस था पूरा, एंड इट इज समथिंग दैट आई पर्सनली रेजोनेट अ लॉट, क्योंकि मैं भी 25 में उतनी कंफ्यूज थी और मैंने भी काफ़ी सिमिलर किया था. इट रियली रिंग सम बेल्स. तो if you are nearing to end your college and you are confused but as Rathin मचाना है लाइफ में, तो I think this is something that you should hear completely.
Yeah. So सब लोग बोलते थे कि यार you should do what you love, like you should be passionate about what you love, like what you do and so on and so forth. लेकिन समझ तो वही नहीं आ रहा था कि passion है क्या मेरा, like what do I really love to do. And okay, one thing is loving what you do and the other thing is being good at it, and the third thing is, can you really make a career out of it, like can you make a living out of it. Like these were like impounding questions, and so I could not find a process कि यार ये एक, and I was a very kind of a person जो I used to write things a lot, and so मुझे ऐसा बहुत vague चीज होगा तो बहुत confusion होता है. So I wanted to like write things down and like do it in a structured way. So here's what I followed. Step 1 was just take a plain piece of paper and write down everything that you've ever wanted to do. Does not matter क्या, मतलब this paper is only between you and that paper. So there is nobody else who is going to look at this paper. So कोई judgment रखने की जरूरत नहीं है. You can be as free as possible. अपने आप को एक रूम में लॉक करो, पेन पेपर लो, टाइमर लगाओ एंड शुरू हो जाओ कि what are the random things that you can do. I literally wrote things like professional skydiver and this and that and dancer and ये वो इतनी चीजें मैंने लिखी as much as possible. I wrote like some 30-40 things कि भाई मैं कुछ judgment के बिना सब कुछ लिख दूंगा. उसके बाद step 2 was remove all the things which are definitely not possible. For example, if you want to be a professional footballer and you are making this list at the age of 24 or 25, let's be thoda practical, you are already too late. So remove all the options which are not possible and then you will narrow yourself down to some main 5, 6 or 10 options basically. So third step was basically just write a paragraph about how do you see your life 5 years from now. Although it's a very cliche thing, लेकिन let your run mind, like हाँ ठीक है, मैं यहाँ पे रहता हूँ, मैं ऐसी सिटी में रहता हूँ, मैं इस तरीके का लाइफ में जी रहा हूँ, मैं ये है वो है, जितना भी जो भी तुम्हारे दिमाग में आ रहा है इट्स फाइन.
जितने भी स्पेसिफिक्स हो सके उतने.
हाँ,
लॉन्ग टर्म विजन,
किसके साथ रह रहा हूँ, कैसा काम कर रहा हूँ, do I want money, do I want fame, do I want like ambition, like whatever your this thing is, सारी चीजें लिखो. First step, do the same exercise but instead of for 5 years do it for 1 year. कि आज से 1 साल बाद वो कैसा दिखेगा मेरा लाइफ. Why? Because 5 years तो आपने अल्टीमेट विजन बना लिया, तो वो 5 years को अचीव करने के लिए नेक्स्ट 1 साल में आप क्या करने वाले हो, so that how will your life look 1 year from now. This step has to be a little more practical कि you know your current situation, you know your 5-year situation. Let's be a little more practical and put this mark somewhere midway towards the start वैसा. And then the final step was कि अच्छा ठीक है, जब ये सब हो गया तो now figure out कि आप अभी क्या कर रहे हो, and to reach that 1 year goal what do you need to do. Do you need to leave your job Okay, then do that. Do you need to start pursuing X, Y, and Z as practice? Then do that, etc. So ये एक process था.
Basically, action time was the fifth step.
Action time and specific goals with timelines. Basically, that was the final step की fifth step की वायर. ठीक है, अब सब कुछ समझ आ गया. अब हमें specific goals with timelines रखने हैं. And ये exercise, the key point is you don't have to do it once. You have to do it over and over and over and over again. मतलब 30 बार करो 30 दिन में तो every day कुछ ना कुछ नया निकलेगा. And at the end of say 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, you will have a list where now you're repeating yourself. The moment when you start repeating yourself, you know कि हाँ नहीं अब यही है. You know, so that's your thinking time. Once your thinking time is done, switch to execution mode. कि ठीक है, अब मेरे को समझ आ गया, अब मेरे को try out करना क्या करना है. And I was the kind of person कि यार मैंने blogs पढ़े, interviews देखे लोगों के, ये देखा ऐसे मैंने finding why देखा था उस टाइम का और ये सब try किया सब कुछ, लेकिन फिर भी एक वो होता है ना कि खुद से try नहीं करोगे तब तक नहीं मजा आएगा. Unless you try something वो मजा नहीं आएगा. So then it was a question of, okay, can you try something? Like, do you want to try this yourself? Okay. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's try these 5 things. That's where your third step.
मुझे इस पे clarity चाहिए. How did you shortlist this? Because as I said कि
Yeah.
finding why is important, but why not
Yeah.
is also important. So
Correct.
definitely when you eliminated those,
Yeah.
there was a solid why not.
Correct.
What were those like?
Correct. So I'm going to start with saying that finding the why was actually much more difficult. Finding why not was easier. Because ये easy है कि हाँ ये तो नहीं वो easy actually करना. So elimination process is easier. Elimination is divided into 2 parts. पहले easy elimination कि पहले जो list 20 चीज़ों की list बनाई थी उसमें से वहाँ से 5 पे narrow down करना, that was the easy part. And I'll talk about how I did that. And then the second part was वो 5 में से एक पे एक कैसे narrow down करना. That was the more difficult part. So the first part, that was more on paper and research and reading and so on and so forth. So, for example, if you've written things like, I had written things like, say, professional skydiver. अब मैंने वो लिखा था. अब मेरे को वो समझ आ गया कि ठीक है तो बहुत cool चीज़, बहुत मजा आएगा and all that. But how many professional skydivers do you know who are, say, to be blank about it, are millionaires, for example? That was one of my factors to remove things. Another one was कि maybe it looks good on paper, but I'm not really good at it, or I'm run out of time for that. So, for example, as I mentioned, like footballer, if you want to become a footballer at 25, you more or less practically run out of life for that. You should have started like when you were 12 or 13 or 14 or 15, like that. तो इस तरीके से सारे एलिमिनेट करते करते 5 वो चीज आई जो प्रैक्टिकल भी है, पॉसिबल भी है, एंड टाइम भी है.
So what were your 5 things then?
Yeah. All right. So the first one was चल मैं देखो स्पेनी की ऑफिस दिखाता हूँ.
Yes, let's go.
Welcome to Spenny office.